Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Eriko from Regulatory Support Office. I work with Resija Nambia to support clinicaltrial.gov reporting. We have been doing a how-to series in the previous research matters. So I talked about how to do the registration and results reporting. So we have step-by-step guidance documents, decision tree, those are all available in our website. We also introduce our free consultation services, which we provide one-on-one training and assistance on registration and results reporting. Then we talked about how to do the annual updates, then how to do the record updates. So you can check the previous research matters slides and recording for more information. So in this month and in the next few months, we will be talking about how to avoid common pitfall. And then we want to provide you the tips and recommendations to avoid major comments, so which is basically a stipulation from ct.gov and at NIH, so reviewer at NIH. So let's get started. Okay, so one of the most common problem is the late registration and results reporting on the ct.gov. So as you know, so each ct.gov reporting activities such as initial registration, results reporting, annual updates, record updates have specific required reporting timeline. So if you don't meet those timeline, your study become non-compliant and study will be flagged as a problem record in the system. And your record and your name will be showing up on the non-compliance list, AKA the blacklist, which are reviewed by our leadership monthly. And if your study is audited by FDA, you will be receiving notice of non-compliance, and responsible party, so the PI, will be personally responsible for the civil monetary penalties. And so institution will not back you up on this. So you do not want to miss the deadline. So our recommendation is to initiate the ct.gov registration at the time of EIRB submission, as it can take up to 10 hours according to NIH, and start the results reporting at least 3 months prior to the due date. Again, it can take up to 50 hours for complex trial with multiple outcomes. So this shows that EIRB study activities, sponsor investigator, IND, IDE related activities, and ct.gov reporting timeline from the perspective of the study team and investigator. So hopefully this helps you and your PI to understand the timing of ct.gov reporting responsibilities. And also I want to emphasize here is that timing of these activities are almost exactly in parallel with IRB activities. So anytime you make actions in ERB, such as submit modification, CR, reportable event, you should think about ct.gov reporting activities as well as IND, IDE maintenance activities. So the next common problem is incorrect registration and results reporting due to inappropriate delegation of scientific sections to unqualified staff. So I've mentioned before, but according to Deborah Zareen, so she's the former director of ct.gov at NIH for past 13 years. ct.gov registration and results posting are scientific tasks rather than administrative tasks, requiring basic statistical and epidemiological knowledge, especially for the results reporting. So at the time of results reporting, ct.gov requires summary aggregated data to be reported in a very, very specific way, depending on the clinical trial design and the assignment of the intervention. So also important to note that many CT.gov reviewers at NIH are clinical scientists with extensive statistical trainings. So many of their stipulations are scientific inquiries. So it is just simply very difficult for study coordinator unless they have a similar scientific background to interpret those scientific inquiries. So task force recommends the PI, COI, or clinical scientists, including epidemiologists, biostatistician, to complete the scientific sections and addressing scientific inquiries. Or so study team member who has or who will be generating table 1, table 2, consort diagram. So typically it's figure 1 of the manuscript for that trial to do this task, because CT.gov results and manuscript result must match, because journal editor will be verifying the information in these both places. So the next problem is raw data are being lost or not available to do the CT.gov results reporting. So we understand that some of the data have been destroyed based on the data management plan that were submitted to the IRB. So we recommend that you include specific data management plan for CT.gov reporting in the protocol when your PI is developing the protocol. And the fourth problem is investigators list exploratory outcome as secondary outcome in the IRB protocol. So as you can see in this table, so the primary outcome and secondary outcomes are required to be reported in the CT.gov, while exploratory outcomes or tertiary outcomes are not. So say if you list like 40 outcomes as secondary outcome in the protocol, those 40 outcomes are required to be listed at the time of CT.gov registration. And it can be a lot of work, as CT.gov reviewer requires detailed information for each outcome. So you can't just cut and paste from the protocol most of the time. And also by the definition, secondary NIH's definition, secondary outcomes are outcomes that may or may not be related with primary outcome, which investigators are interested and then committed to measure. But the study is not necessarily powered for the secondary outcome. And exploratory outcomes include outcomes that may or may not be available or meaningful. Right. So in the protocol, so it's totally reasonable to list one primary outcome, which is the endpoint for which the trial is powered for, and maybe pick one or two important secondary outcomes and then list rest of the outcome as exploratory outcomes. So that's just our recommendation. So the fifth problem is protocol does not have sufficient information to allow for CT.gov reporting. So whether or not responsible party, so PI delegates CT.gov reporting tasks to other scientific member, typically protocol doesn't have enough information to do the CT.gov reporting. So these are CT.gov registration required information. So we recommend updating your protocol template to include this information if PI plans to register the trial, and then especially if PI plans to delegate CT.gov reporting to other scientific members in the study team. So that they can cut and paste the information from protocol when doing CT.gov registrations. So these are the first 5 common problems and our tips, so the recommendation to avoid pitfall. So now let's quickly review the metrics. So according to PETA non-compliance tracker website, UT Southwestern as a whole, our compliance rate proportion was 68.2% in 2020. So UT Southwestern leadership was obviously very concerned at that time. So with everyone's effort, we made 100% compliance since beginning of this year. And then we are going very strong. We have been keeping 100% compliance since this beginning of year. But again, important to note that this 100% compliance is for FETA, so FDA regulated applicable clinical trial results only. It doesn't include registration or other annual updates. Also, it doesn't include NIH funded trial that are not FDA regulated applicable clinical trial. Also, it doesn't include trial that are voluntary register. So this one we developed is basically shows overall real-time compliance for all UT Southwestern record. So blue is the total number of record, green is the record without any issues, and orange on are the either study team is working on the record or records are under ct.gov review. And the red ones are the non-compliance one. So the red is bad. So this month, we didn't have any of it. So thank you for all your effort. So here's the contact person. And here's the selected resource. So if you have any question, just email us. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Very, very, very useful and informational as